Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. No Sarah Timon this week. She'll be back next week, and we're going to do our predictions about the 2025 market. In the meantime, we're going to cover the Fed meeting from December 18th, and then we've got two incredible agents from our team, Amy Q and Kevin Heatherby, who had unprecedented growth in 2025. And we're going to break down what helped them grow their business, what makes them great agents, how they can help consumers, and some great advice for anyone that wants to have a similar breakthrough in their business in 2025. Kevin had 167% growth in his business. Amy, after getting out of the business for a significant amount of time, sold 20 homes and just under $10 million in her first year full-time back in the business in 2024. So we're going to break that all down. If you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team about what to do post-Fed meeting in regards to real estate, you can do that with the link in the comments. So we had this Fed meeting last week. It was actually 2 weeks ago at this point, now that we're filming this. We took a week off for the holidays. And they made a 25 basis point cut. This was what was predicted by most experts, and it seemed like the Fed had to finish the job. They were telling people they were going to have all these rate cuts. This was the last one to make, and they made it. So that they finished the job. And it's not so much the rate cut that I want to talk about here. Instead, it's the comments afterwards from Jerome Powell, because this is always what we look at to set the stage for what's going to happen next. So what the Fed said is at the post-conference, like the post-game press conference, if you're an Eagles fan, with today's action, we lowered our policy rate by a full percentage point from its peak, and our policy stance is now significantly less restrictive. We can therefore be more cautious as we consider further adjustments to our policy rate. Jerome Powell went on to indicate they're probably going to only lower the rate twice more in 2025, 2 cuts in 2026, and 1 in 2027. That sent the markets into a tizzy. We saw interest rates jump back up into the 7% range, and this is not what people wanted to hear, because there's been some mixed signals when it comes to the jobs reports and inflation and the unemployment numbers. So that's likely why the Fed backed off a little bit. And for the people that want to say the Fed doesn't play politics, I would argue that they almost had to make this rate cut here because they painted themselves into a corner. If you listen to some of the press conference here, and I'm going to break it down for you now, recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. GDP rose at an annual rate of 2.8% in the third quarter, about the same pace as in the second quarter. Growth of consumer spending has remained resilient, and the investment in equipment and intangibles has strengthened. In contrast, activity in the housing sector has been weak. This is one of the first times that you're hearing the Fed even talk about housing. Later at the 9.5-minute mark, Jerome Powell went on to say inflation, we will see that story as still broadly on track, and I'll tell you why. We've made a great deal of progress. 12-month core inflation, as I mentioned, through November is estimated at 2.8%, down from a high of 5.6%. But 12-month inflation has actually been moving sideways as we are lapping the very low readings of late last year. Housing services inflation actually is steadily coming down now, albeit at a slower pace than we might like. But it has now come down substantially and is making progress, slower than hoped. So what we're seeing here is that the Fed is kind of waving the white flag that we're probably not going to hit 2% inflation, and it might be more of an elevated inflationary market. And then it went on to some questions about what the Fed gets asked, which I always find very interesting. And really what comes out of this meeting, and you look at what the CME group is predicting, they constantly predict what's going to happen with the rate. So right now we're in the 425 to 450 range for the federal funds rate. There's an 88.8% chance we're going to see rates stay where they are at the January 29th meeting. And this website's great because then they show you kind of what's going to happen after that. So there's not another meeting until March 19th. So you got a full 49, 50 days after that January meeting. And right now there's a split decision on what's going to happen, or split odds, I guess. 48.4% chance that we'll see a 25 basis point decrease, and a 46.2% chance we'll see it stay firm. So it looks like the Fed's going to be backing off these rate cuts. And then when you look at the dot plot, which I always find to be really important. So the dot plot indicates what the voting members of the Federal Reserve believe should happen moving forward. They're in that same boat that Jerome Powell is talking about. So what's clear is, what this all means in my view, is that rates are going to be where they are, and we're not going to see a whole lot of movement on mortgage rates as we head into 2025. So if you're one of those consumers that's hoping rates are going to come down, or that we're going to see, maybe 5% or something like that, I would not hold my breath. This is kind of the market that we're going to be in. There's also some positives when it comes to housing, because one of the biggest developments, and to me the most positive development so far this year, has been the increase in active housing inventory. We're approaching levels close to 2019. Not quite there yet, and even though 2019 levels represent a 5-decade low before the COVID-19 pandemic, the market was still functioning a lot better then than it did from 2020 until 2023. Locally, we saw inventory jump up about 12% in the greater Philadelphia area. Obviously, this is neighborhood by neighborhood, township by township, and that's a move in the right direction. Other places we're seeing more growth. We're seeing close to 27% more national single-family home inventory. And again, you got places like Texas and Florida that have these incredible growth numbers when it comes to inventory. The Northeast and the greater Philadelphia area is not one of them. So what this all means is that the market that we're in, where days on market's a little elevated, the median's still like 12, 13 days. We're going to see the opportunity to make offers on homes if they're sitting on the market. We're going to see some people jump into the market, others may not. I would not expect rates to be coming down here. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. And if inventory is growing and rates are staying stable, we're not going to see that same volatility. But Skylar Olson, the chief economist at Zillow, who I had the chance to interview, she mentioned we're in for a bumpy ride in 2025 when it comes to rates. This rhetoric from the Fed and Jerome Powell represents that. When they come out and say, hey, we're going to maybe see 2 rate cuts in the next 12 months, that's a little bit of a bumpy ride, and the market's going to be very reactionary to jobs reports and inflation reports and CPI data. So you're going to see rates maybe tick up a little bit sometimes, tick down a little bit, and that's all the more reason you want to be in touch with a lender who can help you navigate that, which is really, really important. To give you an idea what consumers are saying with this information, if you ask buyer and sellers and agents what 2025 holds for the market, you're going to get one clear answer, that it's complicated. It's never a good answer in business. And we have a pretty clear sense of what experts are predicting about 2025. We'll jump into that in a second. But there's a new report out there from Clever Real Estate that reveals insights into buyer and seller expectations, challenges, and the ongoing role of real estate agents in navigating the market. So 49% of sellers and 41% of buyers in this survey believe 2025 will be a seller's market. 30% of sellers and 35% of buyers expect a shift to a buyer's market. I don't agree with them, by the way. And then 20% of sellers and 24% of buyers expect neither a seller's market nor a buyer's market in the coming year. Now, what I will stress here is that this is going to be dependent on where the inventory is in local markets. So if you're in a place like Texas or Arizona or Florida, yeah, it could very well be a buyer's market. Where we live in the greater Philadelphia area, I don't see any data that tells me we're going to be seeing a buyer's market, with the exception of maybe some of these places in the city of Philadelphia where inventory is a lot different because there are a lot of options in Philadelphia. In the suburban markets, it's definitely seller friendly. There's no question about it. So then there's expectations on home prices. So 47% of sellers and 45% of buyers expect home prices in their local market to go up in 2025, roughly 2 to 3 times more than the 15% of sellers and 22% of buyers who expect a decline. Additionally, 68% of buyers worry that rising home prices will make it necessary for them to delay their home purchase, while 48% expect to need financial assistance, such as a down payment assistance program or gift money, to help them make a purchase. So we're seeing that affordability is still a hot button issue. And 87% of home buyers and sellers expect buyer demand to be the same or higher than it was in 2024. So when I look at these expectations, this demonstrates the importance of having a local expert help you, because there's a lot of data out there with our market in terms of what's going to be happening now, what's going to be happening Q1, Q2, Q3, and rather than guess, you want to have the actual data. I met with a potential client a couple weeks ago, and they were getting all kinds of advice about the best time to hit the market. And what I did, instead of just tell them, well, here's what I think or here's what I know, I pulled a report from the MLS showing how many homes listed and how many homes went under contract in their particular municipality during the months of January, February, March, and April. And I showed them the report, and they could see how inventory spiked in February and March, while the same amount of sales were happening throughout the first quarter on a monthly basis, for January, February, March, based on their price point. That's the kind of analysis you want to be looking for in an agent if you're a consumer listening, and if you're a real estate agent, that's the kind of analysis you want to give people. The data doesn't lie, and that's why it's critical to combat some of these varying opinions with actual facts. This is the best way to do things. You don't want to be guessing when it comes to someone's potentially largest investment. So here's some of the challenges from this survey that people identified. 57% of folks saw the biggest challenge as finding the right home. We hear that all the time. Inventory is still an issue. Now, again, the good news is inventory is rising. 49% cited staying in my budget. Well, that speaks to affordability and rates. These are the two biggest challenges people are constantly bringing up. 42% pointed to mortgage rates. That to me is almost the same thing. 34% see finding a good home in a good neighborhood as their primary challenge. 32% cited moving as the most daunting aspect. And moving is very stressful, by the way. So that's a really good observation. 29% dread competing with other buyers. 28% saving for a down payment. 24% worry about low housing inventory. 23% uncertain about managing closing costs. You're seeing a trend here. It's about what can I afford and what can I find? And to address those, because we know that most sellers got to go buy a new home. That's how it works. If you're one of those people, you want to plan early. You want to get clear on what you're looking for. Start prepping your home for the market. Get your financials in order. Make sure there's nothing funky on your credit report. Have the down payment money set aside. That's what you want to do in terms of being ready for the market in 2025. And for the same can be said for a first-time buyer, someone downsizing, someone upsizing. The planning will help you because getting real-time, up-to-the-minute information will help you with competing with these other buyers. So that's really the challenges for buyers in 2025. The top challenges for sellers: preparing the house for sale, 46%, managing repair and renovations, 36%, pricing the home correctly, 34%, finding the right buyer, 28%, coordinating a home sale and purchase, 28%, negotiating offers and timing the market, and finding the right agent, all coming in at 26%. So again, what this really tells me is that the biggest stressor for people is getting their home ready. With a great team, we've got a staging and home prep team right in-house that can help you with this stuff. Managing repairs, knowing what to do to the home to get it ready. This is one of the reasons why a great home sells, is that buyers need to get the right emotional reaction when they come through the door. Pricing the home correctly, that's very important. You want to get someone that understands what's happening in the market. The big takeaway here is you want to interview agents. Don't talk to more than one, because if you're talking to only one agent, you get one strategy, you can't compare them and make a decision for yourself. I would interview maybe 2 to 3 people. You know, when you interview 3, you find the one that makes you the most comfortable. It's a great number. And this is coming from someone who runs a real estate team and interviews for a business all the time. And I'm telling you, talk to more than one person, because it's going to make you feel really good about whatever decision you're making. And that's a major takeaway here. So you can understand what I need to do and get the right advice, and hopefully look for someone that's backing it all up with data, because the data will never lie. And that's the best advice I see here from Jerome Powell and all his comments post-Fed meeting, from the Clever survey about what people really think about the market, the news about rising inventory, how much inventory actually is really rising. There's a lot of information out there about housing, and the more information you get from someone that you can trust that does this every single day, because we know that most consumers, they move every 11 to 12 years, the better position you're going to be in to go achieve your goals at a high level. So we're going to break it right here. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to be talking with Amy Q and Kevin Heatherby from our amazing team about how they achieved incredible growth numbers few people actually reach. Next on Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
Welcome back to Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Amy Q, one of our amazing team members. Amy had an incredible 2024. We're going to break it all down next. If you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with Amy from our team about your real estate needs, you can do that with the link in the comments. Make sure to click on that. So Amy is an amazing person, an amazing mother, loving wife, all that good stuff. And she also had a killer year in 2024. So before I get into the stats, Amy, tell everyone your journey in real estate, because this is pretty unique. I like to reflect on the year, and this is monster growth. You basically went from effectively 0 to 20 sales and $10 million in 1 year.
Yes. So, I mean, just getting back into it, let's say October of 23. Mm-hmm. 23, yeah. So it took some, it's like riding a bike, though. Mm-hmm. I was licensed about 21 years ago. And at some form or fashion, I was always into real estate. So selling, buying, rentals, managing, everything. And then, like I said, in October, I got serious about selling again, a listing and buying. So it became, just became like riding a bike. I just got back on the horse.
For sure. Well, you didn't just get back on the horse. You got back on the horse and won the Kentucky Derby. That's how good this was. So 20 sales in your first year back, which is a lot for any agent. I mean, the top 3-4% of the country, they only sell 20 homes a year anyway, which is incredible. So you've accelerated your growth a lot this year. I think riding a bike is a great example where it starts out and you get some momentum, but then you keep getting better and better, and your growth kept accelerating. So what strategies did you lean into this past year to keep pushing your business forward?
It was a lot. It's an evolving market. So the biggest thing is if I didn't evolve with it, then I felt as though I was falling behind. So definitely staying abreast with everything to make myself successful. I had my ups and downs like any agent, but I had to remain positive all the time. So I did I used some tools like our CRM system. That helped a lot. That software helped, just with staying in touch with clients, where they are in the process, on top of my interactions. So that really helped. I stayed in tune with some up-to-date data, whether it was our meetings, things like, reading things like Zillow, things like that, our market memorandums that we have, keeps me kind of up to date so I know what I'm talking about when buyers and sellers, the trends, the market trends, how to target each property for what those buyers are looking for, understanding the local pricing so that I can negotiate hard for them, things like that. So that really helped. Social media, I know we talk about that. Instagram, Facebook, it's a good space to showcase your listings. Let your sphere and friends know what you're doing, maybe your latest listing or showcasing a property, things like that. So my friends and sphere are up to date with what's going on in my business. So that helped a lot. And then lastly, I'd say networking as far as some events, whether it's a kids event, going to some parties, always staying connected with professionals, sphere, building relationships, things like that really helped.
So it sounds like you've, basically been very coachable and are just running plays that work. Now, you mentioned staying positive. This is hard for a lot of real estate agents, and you're a very positive person in general. And you're laughing, but it's true. And I think positive energy is something that the more positive you are, the better results you get. What do you do to stay positive? Because there is a roller coaster in this business.
It's a roller coaster, and you take one step forward and then 10 steps back, and you get discouraged that day, and ready to throw in this. Oh my God, this is so hard emotionally and mentally. But what are some of the things I do? I stay on target. So there's always a plan, and I take that plan and create a plan that kind of keeps me in line, keeps me in check.
Love it.
So I got to hold myself to that plan. Basically, I have to do it, and if I don't, then I'm falling behind. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing to get that next sale.
Well, not having a plan is one of the reasons why most agents fail anyway. So I think the fact that you identified that, and obviously you've run a lot of businesses. This is not like your first rodeo when it comes to running a business. A plan makes a big difference. So that's incredible stuff. So the next question I got for you is that 2024 was an interesting year. We saw what's going to be the lowest level of transactions since 1995. We saw a lot of people have incredible growth like you. Others did not. What was your proudest moment or the story this year that really made you feel good about what you're doing in the community? Because I know that I believe we're difference makers. I know you feel that same way, and you really do get to help people in the business, even though it doesn't always seem that way.
I know there's so many great stories. Every house I think about, every family I think about, it was awesome. But one story that made me proud was helping a friend so it was a big sphere deal of mine, you might remember.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And one of my best friends had to relocate very quickly. So, all these things as an agent go through your mind. You never know the situation. Is it going to pan out? Are you going to be able to get what they need for what they need to move on? Mm-hmm. And can you do it in a timely manner? So all these things always, okay, how is this going to work? So not only was I able to get the home sold in 48 hours, but I was able to negotiate about $75,000 over asking price for them.
Incredible.
Which was a win for them. And it showed them, the seriousness, how I had their back, and just some of the professionalism that we talk about every day. And so it worked out perfectly for their situation, and it really tested my negotiating skills. So
$75K above ask sounds like a pretty good negotiating job. Amazing. Well, I can see just in your face, right, your body language, it tells you how proud you are of that, because when you work with your friends, to me, there's more pressure in a good way, right? There's relationship tension, and then you got task tension. The relationship is they don't like you. That wasn't the case, obviously. You're friends with these people. But the task tension is big, because what happens if it doesn't go well, right? Sure. And that's...
You want to do good for them.
Well, and a great business person accepts that and realizes, this is not a small task, and I'm going to rise to the occasion. That's an incredible sale. I remember we were talking about this right before, and you're like, no one in my sphere is moving, and all of a sudden you rock and roll and help them, and you really help their family get to where they needed to go. That's stressful, relocating. So we've talked off air many times, and we talk a lot, which I value in our relationship for sure. How do you keep it going? How do you stay motivated? Because you can't motivate people. That's not something I can do or you can do, and obviously, you got to be excited about where you're going, but what do you do to kind of keep the train moving? Because there are losses that you take every single day in this business.
Huge, yeah. Well, keeping myself motivated has been challenging. The changes have been crazy this year. Mm-hmm. If you're in real estate, you know what I'm talking about. And, in 2 hours, like I said, it can make or break so many deals, and it's just a roller coaster. So your brain is going crazy. But those moments always cause doubt and make you reevaluate things. And again, staying positive, staying focused. So I have to be excited about the future in order to have success. I can't get down and just spiral downward, because you're just not going to have success. So no giving up on that. What I'm most excited about is just keeping things, selling more and keeping things going than I did this year. So that's exciting, because helping more families getting in their dream homes would be pretty awesome. It's one of my favorites, and the smiles, excitement, everything makes it worthwhile. So that's exciting. And one of my favorite parts of the job is when I get to call them and say, they've accepted our offer.
That is exciting.
Whether we fought tooth and nail for it, or it was just a little easier, it's always a fight. It's awesome. That's one of the best parts for me.
Well, that's I mean, you think about the joy you're bringing to someone's life at that point, and that's not something a lot of people get to do. Like, not every job has that, and it's very satisfying. And I mean, you talk about like selling more, and what I love is that you get how businesses grow, where you're growing 15-20% a year. That's pretty amazing growth for any business. So and you've got a plan, you're ready to do it. But I love that the people are what keeps you, and that's no surprise actually, just knowing you, because you care about people, and when you care about people, it ends up helping you do your job better, at least in this industry.
It does. I think so.
So what, like looking back on the year, we talked about like the implementation gap where people know what to do, they just can't execute on it. They don't have a plan. What were some of the keys that helped you be part of Club 13? So if you don't know what Club 13 is, 87% of agents are out of the business in the first 5 years, right? 75% are out in their first year. So how did you have this? And it's probably not a surprise to you. It's not a surprise to me from knowing you, but you're beating the odds pretty dramatically. So what were some of the keys that helped you have these kind of results?
Well, successful agents don't just know what they need to do, but they have to clearly achieve that goal. Mm-hmm. So I set a target, and I created a plan that gave me a breakdown of my target, and then I had to execute. So constantly reviewing and adjusting my goals really ensured that I could kind of get there. It wasn't easy. It was not easy. And the most successful agents build consistent, like, daily routine. So that helped, and I know we talk about that all the time. In our meetings, including like our lead gen, following up with clients, staying on top of the market trends, maintaining communication, the higher task priorities, like phone calls, prospecting, all of it kind of helps maintain my goal. As far as being a part of the 13%, I try to always bring value as well. It's hard, but when I meet with clients, I show them something that maybe they wouldn't have noticed or something they didn't pick up on, so that they know at some point, like, she's got my back. She's on my team. Like, all of that matters. And when you build that level of trust early, it means everything to them. And most of my referrals, just from some newer people, like families I met this year, are all saying the same thing. Like, you stood out. You did things differently. So I loved that feedback. And then, trusting the process, everything you guys push and show me and our meetings, and do it like this and do it like that. It's easy to be shown how to do certain things, but it's hard to implement it and do it correctly. So do it like this, do it like that. That's easy to throw at you, but once you get it, put that point in motion, and you will succeed.
I mean, that's the exciting part about this business. It's not that complicated, but there's so many people coming at you with different ideas. Like that's where I can't tell you how many times I get called, like, oh, try this new lead source, try this, try that. And there's so much coming at you, and it can be overwhelming for sure. So you're talking about how you came through and you're part of Club 13. I didn't prep you for this question. It's an easy one. So why don't you tell everybody what your home life is like? Because I think this is what do you have?
I don't want to scare people.
Well, I don't think it's scaring people. I think it's real life, right? Mine's not that different, by the way. It's just my kids are a little younger. That's probably the only difference.
It's tough, right? You have, like you said earlier, you have to juggle everything. You're a wife, you're a mom, now you're a business owner, and we've, like you said, had businesses my whole adult career, but it's a lot. I have a daughter who's 18. Looking at colleges, another one who wants to be a D2 athlete. Like, she's killing it. She won't say D1, but she's
still pretty good.
She's another one who's looking to, and an 8-year-old who keeps me on my toes. So once I leave, I have to shift gears and give them some of my attention, because they get mad with me. Yeah. You're a dad, you know all about it. That guilty feeling when you wake up early and you're like, am I doing enough? Am I cutting from the kids to do this? And all of that stuff gets difficult. But I hope I'm doing a good job. I hope, we don't screw up our kids too much.
Yeah. I've seen you in action as a mom. They're very lucky to have you, and Jean is very, very lucky as well. That's your husband. So but I think people don't like. Some people think like you have to just pick one or the other in real estate. I totally disagree with that. I think you can have a great family life and you can have a great professional life, and just got to be really transparent about what's going on, because sometimes you got to lean one way, sometimes you got to lean the other, and having like very honest conversations with your kids more so than maybe your spouse.
Absolutely.
And I've got a 7-year-old. She's going to be 8 in a week, and they played football together at our house and got like covered in mud. But I even tell her what's going on. I mean, I don't know if you have those kind of conversations with your son, but it makes it easier. And maybe they don't understand right away, but
you have
get
to.
what's going on.
You have to. And my girls grew up, like I said, we had a few businesses, and they grew up at the table, whether it was at night or breakfast, listening to everything and the chaos. And this has to get done, or that's not going to get done. And she writes her college paper on business and entrepreneurship and all this. And I'm like, what damage did I do to this one? So yes, communication is key. And as young as 7, 8 years old, you have to communicate, tell them what's going on. So it's a balancing act.
I love that. And I mean, I think it's, when you make your family part of it, they feel included, even though the time may not be there, and they get what you're doing. So that's awesome. And it's one of the reasons why we get along so well, because I think we're very aligned that way. And you can have both. You don't have to pick one or the other.
Kudos to you. You do incredible.
I don't know
how
that.
you do what you do.
Ask my wife at the holiday party next week, and she's going to give you a different version, and it'll be the unfiltered. Let me tell you.
I'm sure.
We're just we're doing the best we can. I think that's really what it is. So I got one more question for you here, and if you're in the market, Amy, we're going to put this stuff all over social. This is the kind of agent you want in your corner. Listen to what she's saying. How I prioritize and feel like I'm making a difference. Like, this is the kind of person I'd want helping me if I was looking to buy or sell a home. So with that in mind, where there's probably someone listening that like they weren't really happy with how 2024 went, right? And or maybe they feel like they could have done more. They want to build their business. They want to grow. What would you tell them?
It's tough. You have to stay focused. To get the ball rolling, you need a lot of patience. And it's not instant. And it's not instant gratification, but if you stay the course and do what our team here has to offer, I mean, think about everything, how many times I question things and, Brian, I need your help. Can I pick somebody's brain? Having that team and having what we have, we're so lucky to have that backing. And you're in our corner every time something's blowing up. And you're also in our corner to be our biggest cheerleader, like you are now. So trust the process. You say that a lot, and I trusted the process. And it led to success this year, a lot of success. Stay motivated and don't be afraid of rejection, because get back on the horse. In this business, you're getting rejection every day. So guidance, encouragement, there's no better place in this team, I'd have to say.
Well, that means a lot coming from you, because you got a lot of business experience. You're a great person, great agent. We're grateful to have you on board. Like I said, if you're in the market, Amy. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't talk to her here. So we're going to put this stuff all over. All our contact information is going to be listed in the video here. Amy, you are one of a kind. We are really grateful for you here, and we're going to have an even better 2025.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. He's Kevin Heatherby. Killer real estate agent, amazing father, loving husband. We're going to break down the uncanny year that Kevin had with 167% growth in his sales volume. Numbers like this are not seen often. If you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team and Kevin specifically, you can do that with the link in the comments. So, Kevin, 2024 has been a year with a lot of growth for you. Give everyone a little bit of background, what you were doing before real estate. This has been your second full year you've been doing this. What you got going on in terms of being like a parent, a husband? Because I think people think we only just sell real estate all the time, but that's not really the case.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. It's definitely a different beginning, if anything. Prior to this, just to give everybody an idea, I spent about 15 years in the medical device manufacturing avenue there. I was a division manager for about 10 years specifically, so I dealt with a lot of people at an early age just in terms of how to be able to help navigate and work with people in different difficulties of life and even still on the manufacturing and production aspect as well. So definitely, got an avenue of understanding how to troubleshoot and understand people's challenges very early on. And even still, that's translatable in real estate just in terms of people being able to, try to open up their doors proverbially to get into their next home or that next chapter of their lives.
For sure. And I think the fact that you get that, right? And medical devices, I think it's similar, but the person's actually getting the medical device doesn't really know what's going on. You're dealing with the doctors and everybody else. Sure. So, but you're helping people with stuff that needs a lot of help. So, you had this incredible year. You grew your sales volume by 167%. Average growth, like for like a strong number, is like 15 to 20. Mm-hmm. So you basically 8x that. So you had 63% growth in your transaction volume. So it looks like you raised your average sale price. You were a little more intentional with what you're doing. This isn't a year where we saw the lowest level of transactions since 1995. So, and obviously you took advantage of the market. So what strategies did you lean into that helped push your business forward in such an extreme manner?
Well, for starters, at least, especially to joining the team, this was the first opportunity that I had to get into real estate, so I was very green, as they say. So for me, it was the ability to jump in with both feet into a whole new world, and also to be able to realize that this isn't like a get-rich-quick type thing where people unfortunately get that misguided notion in terms of real estate overall. And it took me about 5 months for me to be able to get my first property under contract. And I mean, for a lot of agents, some people realize that if they don't get that first deal in the first 4 to 6 weeks, they just kind of realize that it's not for them. So more than anything else, and obviously still being in the area, trust the process. More than anything else, being able to trust the process and lean into that and play the long game more than anything else, I feel that is the most important thing, because most people, especially too with a large transaction like this, they don't just wake up overnight and just decide that they want to go buy a house. Like, it takes time. For sure.
Well, I think having a long view in any business is really the way to go. I mean, and people, they'll cite like, oh, look at this growth that, you as an example had this year. It's not an overnight success. It's all the work you put in, before that to really ramp it up. So when you say trust the process, like we're not talking about the Sixers here. Right. So what kind of process do you mean? Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so to put that in perspective, I had a couple of transactions specifically this year that were being nurtured for over a year.
Okay.
I had a deal that they ended up closing. I showed them over 30 properties total. I met with them first in May of 2023, and finally we got them under contract and settled in just at the beginning of August of this year. So again, about 15 months or so. I had another client. They were living out of the Boston suburbs, and they were playing the long game as well. And they were only able to go see properties when they came down here erratically. So, I mean, like, it's just patience more than anything else, and being able to go on the client's timeline, not yours, more importantly.
Love that. Well, and I think you said it. People do things for their reasons, not yours, right? Like, you and I are both like, let's go transact right now. But that's not how it works, and you got to be really mindful of that. So, and when you see that, like, it takes some time, right? You're talking about 5 months to do your first deal, and then it kind of ramped up very quickly from there. How did you stay motivated? Because you can't motivate people. Like, I can't do that. You're going to do things for your reasons, not mine. Sure. What kept it going, and what keeps you excited about what's to come here in 2025?
Well, a lot of it, honestly, is how I have a mortgage to pay myself, from that aspect.
Real life. Okay, I love that.
But more than anything else, I genuinely enjoy helping people. More than anything else, it's so gratifying to be able to be in this industry and see people, they buy I love working with first-time home buyers. I mean, they're very coachable more than anything else, and they really rely on you heavily. And more than anything else, we're trusted advisors. We're not decision makers. And being able to advise people who are especially leaning on you more than anything else, it's just the gratification there, even when the transaction's done, and then for years to come, is the most gratifying thing in this industry, in my opinion.
Well, I love that you want to help people, and I think first-time home buyers these past couple of years, they've had a harder time than most folks because you got, FHA and VA financing was looked upon in a negative light, even though there's nothing negative about it because the way the market was. There's not a lot of inventory in their price point. So, and those folks, you're really changing someone's life when they buy a home. I mean, does that have something to do with your love for first-time home buyers? What gets you excited about working with them?
Well, I mean, for myself, I was a first-time home buyer the day after I turned 22. Even for myself, I was raised on the notion of, getting a house is essentially a backdoor way to be able to solidify yourself in your personal portfolio. It's another 401k potentially. It's the opportunity to be able to sit on a retirement investment. All you're doing is just waking up and going to bed in the same house. And I think starting there and even still of going through that entire process and realizing that, adversely, it's playing the long game, like I said before, but understanding that, it's so important, especially nowadays with the economy and things the way that they're trajecting, and with especially even still in 2025 with what we're seeing on the horizon with home prices and mortgage rates, to be able to get the educated people out there more than anything else.
Well, I love that. And I mean, you said it. Like, if you look at people who, when they bought one, homeowners versus lifetime renters, their net worth is substantially higher. And it really can change the trajectory of a family's growth path from a financial perspective. So that's incredible. That's why you're good at what you do, because you care about people in the long term, not the short term. So, for a lot of people, 2024 was a tough year, right? I mean, we saw the lowest level of transactions like we talked about, but we've seen a lot of people like you have incredible growth. So what's one thing that kind of stands out to you, like one success story or standout moment that you're really proud of helping people?
Two things in particular that really stick out to me is having the opportunity to serve family. I ended up helping not only my grandmother, but also my mother in the transaction of their properties. So being able to not only, assist people in general, but to assist somebody that is so tried and true to you and personal, really puts things in perspective. Another one in particular for me was we had an opportunity to service a client who was very dissatisfied with their previous agent. And we ended up going through and we got them under contract with us. And 4 days after going live on the market, we were under contract for the property and got them at an above asking price. They were very satisfied with our services, and even still there, that they were incredibly just humble at the notion of what we had to offer with them as a team and our progress.
Yeah, that those clients in particular, when every industry, and we're going to talk about Club 13 here in a second. There's usually a lot that are not good at what they're doing, right? I mean, I'm sure in your previous career, medical device sales, probably a lot of people that were not great at that job. Yeah. Real estate agents, there's a lot of bad agents out there. So the fact that you're able to, kind of change someone's opinion, that's a hard thing to do when they have a bad experience. That says a lot about you as a business person. So, looking back at Club 13 and seeing that a lot of agents fail because they fall into that implementation gap where they know what to do, but they just can't execute on it. And you've done the complete opposite. I mean, just from working together with you and helping you with your business, what are some of the keys to your business that helped you become part of Club 13? So if you don't know what that is, 87% of agents are out of the business in the first 5 years, and 75% are out in their first year. You're way above and beyond what those people are doing. So what are some of the keys that you feel like helped you beat the odds?
Well, more than anything else, especially too in terms of also adjusting for the growth that I had this past year, a couple of things in particular that stuck out to me that really helped me in terms of transitioning my business is coming from a place of curiosity and not a place of judgment. Again, like I said, being able to put all of my specific criteria in terms of what I feel that the client should do, it's not up to me. It's up to the client first and foremost. Again, like I also said, is we are advisors, we're not decision makers. Again, also, like I said, playing the long game more than anything else. I've had the good fortune of also showing, 2 properties to somebody and getting them under contract. And like I said, showing over 30. So it's just being able to understand, like I said, and also too, just kind of coming back around and getting that motivation. What is actually getting that person to be able to go out and take a look at these properties? The looky-loos will always exist, but being able to get out there and show these properties and being able to understand what is really motivating them will also help motivate you just as much, if not, kind of help them get just as excited. Just in terms of also too, in my opinion, if you're starting new, if I were to give one key piece of advice to somebody who's just getting into the business, if you are starting out, have a good pipeline already put in place. Have a good sphere system, have a good avenue, whether it's a good following on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, somewhere where you can be able to, tell the masses, hey, I'm getting into this industry, and work on it from there, and really hammer home the notion of like, you can't be a private agent more than anything else, because people will completely drive you by, whether you realize it or not.
Well, I think that's such good advice because we all learn from our mistakes. I've made these mistakes. I know you're pulling from actual experiences that happen, and in order to beat the odds, you gotta learn from your mistakes, right? That's one of the things about history, and it's okay to take a loss or have a failure, but it's the same thing happening to you over and over again. That's not a good spot to be in. So, tell everyone a little bit about your life outside of real estate, because I think everyone thinks we're just these like robots that just sell properties. But you're a committed father, loving husband. I mean, you do a lot of good things for your family. I think everyone needs to hear the other side of this, because that's probably a driver why you're seeing this kind of growth as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been married to my high school sweetheart since 2013. We've been with her since 2004. I mean, she's a great, great person in my life. She really helps my business, keeps me on the straight and narrow. My son as well. I have a 9-year-old son. He's my rock. He definitely helps, keep me motivated, and even still, he's my be-all, end-all, it's just the notion of being able to have the opportunity to have a life outside of real estate as well. It really kind of helps put things into perspective to realize that, you're doing it for them more than also you're doing it for yourself, and obviously, too, for the clients as well at heart. But, also, too, I mean, I'm obviously a huge sports fan. Yes, definitely go Birds. Love to go down to Florida. We have timeshare down in Disney, big Disney fanatics. I love to golf, play sports and whatnot. So I do find time to get activities involved, but obviously, too, keeping to the schedule more than anything else in that calendar.
You said something there that I think we need to give a shout out to all the real estate spouses out there, because if you don't have a supportive spouse in this business, I don't know that you can be successful. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I'm sure you've been through it. I mean, I know I have. Like, our wives have met and hung out, and I think they probably just complained the whole time about the two of us. But share a little bit about that, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think more than anything else is having that support and having that foundation put in place. Because, there are going to be times where, you're getting your business done and you don't really have a lot more to do because you've ironed everything out because you've had it so adequately, put into place, and like I said, sticking to your calendar and sticking to your guns. But there's also times where, you call or text and it's like, hey, I'm not going to be home till 7 o'clock. Don't worry about me for dinner. Sorry, I'm not going to miss, I'm going to miss my son's game, or going to miss my daughter's dance recital, things along those lines. And being just having that delicate balance, like you made mention of, is so important. And also, too, just to also have that person to give you the swift kick in the derriere to kind of be like, hey, I know you got this, especially when the highs and lows do kick in this industry.
I'm pretty sure you can say ass on the radio, so don't worry about that. I think that's so important, though, because, I know our wives are pretty similar. They hold us accountable in ways that other people can't. Like, we talk about accountability in this business, and I'm like, all right, so you're married, right? And, hey, this is going to be share your goals with this person. Forget about me and everyone else, because they're really invested as much as anybody. So I think that's an awesome thing that you're acknowledging there, because I don't think a lot of people really give enough credit to their spouses, because it is not easy being married to a real estate agent.
Well, I also think, too, not only that, and we've seen it ourselves even in this office, is, when you have somebody who's dedicated and who's motivated outside of themselves, where they have a spouse, or they have children, or they have all these other responsibilities, they tend to really focus in a lot more, as opposed to somebody who's potentially still living at home or fresh out of college. They don't have a lot, and they take this job for granted, realizing that it's just, like I said, they think they can just run in and just rack up a bunch of money. But it's that part, I obviously think, too, really makes a difference in terms of the day-to-day.
Well, and it's not everybody, it's most. And there's not that margin of error, right? I think that's such a great observation on your part. So last question for you here. So you had a killer year. You're going to have even better 2025. I can predict that confidently here. There's no question about it. As someone who had a really great year when a lot of people didn't, or maybe there's someone that wants to have a breakthrough in their business in 2025, what advice do you have to those agents that are maybe listening, that want to get better, that want to improve, that want to have similar sort of growth tracks that you did in the past 12 months?
more than anything, like I said, is being able to, and pretty much I'm just going to summarize everything that I made mention of again, is it's just, sticking to your guns, setting everything in your calendar to the point where you're going to wake up, to the point that you're going to sit down and have dinner and spend time with your family and even go to bed. If you don't have that, you're going to lose track of your day-to-day without a shadow of a doubt. Also, too, it's being able to confidently go through yourself. Be confident when you talk to people on the phone. People they can tell whether you understand that or not. If it's in person, it's a body language situation. It's in your voice. It's your tonality. People want to hear from somebody who's confident. If you're not sure of yourself, then they're not going to be sure of you either. And more than anything, like I said, is be humble. This industry is not for the lighthearted. Easy deals are very hard to procure. I can guarantee you that every single deal that is on the table, there's going to be something that's going to come up. Just be prepared to have something come up. Don't go through it just lightheartedly, and just have fun with it. More than anything else is just be there for your clients and have fun.
Great advice here. Now, if I'm someone that knows Kevin and I'm thinking about a real estate decision in the next 6, 12, 18 months, he is the first call I'd be making. I'd hire him. Hope you should too. Get in touch with him because he cares about his clients, and he's working on your time frame, not his. That's the kind of agent you want in today's market. We are very grateful to call Kevin, a friend and a teammate here. Super grateful to have you on board. Let's go kick some major ass. I told you we could say this. In 2025, man. Let's go get it, brother. That's all we got for this week's episode. So if you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications. You want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at TomToole3RD, at TomToole3rd. And we'll be back next week with more information about the market and how to help you navigate it on Toole Time.